Hey folks, welcome back to your favorite internet show, Creative Wednesday, and with your favorite host, me. Oh man, this day can't go wrong anymore. And if you're afraid of making mistakes anyways and still screw up your wonderful day, well don't worry, Jordy has you covered with 7 things that you should always avoid if you're doing VFX. Mistakes that mostly beginners make, but I'm gonna have to be honest, even we at Cinecom sometimes make these mistakes, even after years of experience. But don't put that brown bag of shame over your head just yet. We are here to learn, and without making mistakes, you can't know what's right or wrong. And lucky for you, I've uploaded many bad VFX videos over the years, so let's definitely not laugh, but learn today. Who am I kidding? You're gonna laugh. Well, laugh all you want. I've got the brand new MSI Creator P50 computer together with the PS32 URV monitor. Now, this computer and the monitor are specifically designed for creative tasks such as video editing or VFX. Inside this little brick right here sits some serious hardware, and the 4K 32-inch display is perfect for color grading. Big thanks to MSI for sponsoring this video, and like always, I'm going to scatter some more information about this very cool setup throughout the video. But now let's get started with mistake number 1. You don't do proper testing. If you have a VFX shot in mind for a project, don't wait until production day to make that shot for the first time. Instead, try to create it in your backyard first. We always test our VFX shots and we never get it right first try. Maybe it's something in the background that makes your rotoscoping go off, or an issue with how your talent is moving. If you have the chance to test on set, then make use of that. Lighting could also have a big impact on your VFX. Having a strobe light, for instance, is gonna be really tricky to do your motion tracking with. You can try, but if you fail, you know that you probably shouldn't do that, so test before you do the real deal. Mistake number 2, you think you know physics, but you don't. If you're animating, let's say, a person jumping a long distance, then it's very tricky to make that look realistic. The way the character jumps, accelerates, falls back on the ground, choosing to do something like that is already a mistake. You see, we make mistakes too, guys, and I hope you're learning and not laughing. You're probably laughing. So what are the roadblocks? Well, for starters, as the animator, you eventually don't see it anymore. By playing back your animation 1,000 times, it starts to look good. Until a new pair of eyeballs joins the party, well, he's gonna be the party pooper and tell you that your animation doesn't look realistic. So yeah, get someone else to look at your animation. And second of all, if you're creating something that already exists, like a rocket liftoff, you can overlay that on your animation and match the 2 clips. Now, you've seen some shots of the beautiful P50 already and might be wondering, wow, everything goes so smooth. Well, let me show you guys what's inside this bad boy. For starters, we've got the NVIDIA RTX 3060 graphics card, improving playback, accelerated effects, and of course, it allows for a multi-display setup at high resolutions. The latest Intel 11th generation CPU, which gives a pretty good performance boost over the previous generation CPUs. You can go up to 64 gigs of fast dual-channel memory, and by default, it comes with an M2 SSD storage. And if all of that technical talk didn't make sense to you, well, it's a beast computer. 4K editing goes as smooth as butter, and all of that is packed within this beautiful brushed metallic chassis. Their slogan is Tech Meets Aesthetics. The tech sits inside, and the aesthetics should be on your desk and not under your desk. And the last few things I'd like to mention are some of the connections. What stands out to me is a Thunderbolt 4 connection, as well as a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet connection, allowing you to work off from a networked storage, and I really like that feature. Alright, let's move on to mistake number 3. You're taking 2 big steps. When you've just learned how, for example, the 3D space in After Effects works, then don't immediately start with particle generators. I know, it's exciting to learn all there is in After Effects, but if you're too fast, you only know what tools there are, but you can't really work with those tools. If you've just learned about the 3D space, then try to make a few projects using nothing but the 3D space. It makes you better understand how that works, and eventually you'll actually be able to create something cool with just that one tool. And once you get bored of that, you can move on to the next tool. And that was After Effects advice, guys, not relationship advice, okay? Alright, time to get excited about something else, and that is mistake number 4. you are making things too complicated. When you're creating a desired effect, try and do that in as less steps as possible. Say you want to stretch a certain part of your shot. Now you could duplicate that clip, mask it out, stretch it, and whatnot. Or you could use one effect called Scale Wipe. There, easy. Now I hear you thinking, Jordy, how can we know that? Well, we have that one friend in common that knows the answer to everything. It's Mr. Google. Just describe what you want to achieve in this little search bar and then hit search. There are many forums or communities where you can find the answer. Mistake number 5, you suck at organization. And yes, I know you already know how to organize and how important it is, so you want to skip the video forward, but deep down you know that you suck at organizing. From the very start, create folders in your projects panel and rename your layers and the composition properly. You start with a few layers, but without realizing you suddenly have more than 100 layers. So make a habit of it and organize from the start. And there are a few other things that you can do in After Effects. You can give each layer a different label, and it's not only visually helpful, but you can also click on the label and choose Select Label Group. Super useful. There's also a button to hide certain layers. If you're done with something, then just hide those layers that you don't need to see anymore. It keeps your composition clean. So be a good boy and organize. Mistake number 6, you forgot your color grading. From Premiere, you send over a clip to After Effects and you chop it up into 1,000 layers only to find out later that you haven't done your color grading yet, which actually needs to be done on the clips itself and not the visuals that you added afterwards. Now it depends on the kind of project that you work on, but either you grade before sending your clips over to After Effects, or you do a basic color correction and afterwards you grade on the entire VFX shot including its visuals. That's up to you, but you need to think about it up front. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go through all of your layers and you'll probably forget a few. And talking about color grading, let's have a look at the brand new MSI Creator Monitor. Not only it looks great as well with the ambient lighting from the back, as you turn around you quickly get a clear look with the nearly 180-degree viewing angle. Now of course, it's a 4K IPS display covering 95% of the DCI-P3 color profile, and it's been pre-calibrated with a color accuracy of a delta E under 2, which is not a small deal. This display is great for color correction and grading tasks. And finally, we get HDR 600 support. There's an SD card reader on the side as well as some other connections, and it comes with a nice magnetic monitor hood to block out spill lights. Or if you don't want other people to see what you're doing, you can use that as well. Win-win. And this brings me to the last VFX mistake. Your VFX doesn't interact with the real world. For instance, you add a muzzle flash from a gunfire into your shot. Now, your work isn't done here yet. That muzzle flash is a light source, and so it should bounce off the talent or the walls as well. And you can create that highlight in post-production if you like. But if you're unsure on how to do that, you can also use real light while shooting. Now we do that almost every time if we plan to create something that emits light. There's nothing more realistic than real light, which is kind of obvious. And the same goes with shadows. It's already great that you think about adding shadows for something that you're animating, but the color of that shadow is important too. It's usually not black, but there's a color shade in it. Look at a real shadow in your shot and try to match their color and softness. And finally is saturation. If you create something like fire, make sure that its saturation matches with the real shot. And the same thing goes with exposure. Don't give your VFX a dynamic range of 24 if your camera only supports 11 stops. Something bright in your visuals should be overexposed as well. Make sure that it matches with your camera. And those were the 7 mistakes that you can avoid now, although I'm pretty sure that you're gonna make these mistakes anyways. I mean, I'm making a video about it and I still make these mistakes. Yeah. VFX ain't easy. Now big thanks for watching guys, thank you MSI for the support. You can find links to their brand new creator products in the description down below, so go check that out guys. And as always, stay creative.